Coming to you live from the Chamber of Vulture Studios, this is Haunting You.
And so it is. I'm Keoni Hutton.
Oh, I'll go, I guess. I'm John Schelt. I mostly was trying to think of the fact that I can't believe I remembered that halfway through. That's the first time it's actually worked.
I was just willing to let it go. But we need Leslie Reed.
And I'm Leslie Reed.
Welcome, everyone, back to the Haunting You podcast. We are so excited to have you here. Happy, what holiday is this? Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Patrick's Day?
Yeah. By the time this actually gets out, it's going to be way past St. Patrick's Day. But it's the day that we're recording. It will be April Fool's, probably. But it's the day that we're recording. And so I had to take a moment to acknowledge the fact that I am over here drinking Irish whiskey and hot cocoa, and it is wonderful.
I don't actually have any knitting.
Here's to the Irish.
That's tragic.
Sorry, Les.
Yeah. I have lots of other things.
I'm sure you'll find something to keep yourself busy whilst we continue on. But we are very excited to have you back with us again here on the Haunting You podcast.
Yes, I have internet.
Leslie does have internet. Holy crap. So, little backstory. We tried to record this episode a month ago, not quite, 3 weeks ago, something like that. And like an hour into it, we were just getting into the meat of discussion, and Leslie just vanishes, completely freaking vanishes. And John and I are super confused until she texts us.
Because out of the people who vanish, it's not usually me.
It is not usually Les. It's normally John. John, we expect to vanish. He has a small child. Like it's par for the course, right? But Leslie is relatively reliable, unless one of her puppies crawls underneath the desk and dislodges her Wi-Fi, which does happen.
Which does happen.
Has happened. It does happen. But she usually comes back pretty quickly. This time, she did not come back pretty quickly. And it wasn't until we got a text sometime later that your Wi-Fi just up and failed out of nowhere. Was it the card or was it your router?
No. So I have a very, very old desktop that does not have internal Wi-Fi.
And yet she has a much better camera than I do.
Well, yeah, because I bought one.
Oh, she got fancy.
I have fancy things.
She has fancy things.
And essentially, because of all of the times that the puppy comes in and knocks my internet, the dongle finally gave up the ghost and didn't want to keep working.
Yeah, so she just absolutely freaking vanished. And it kind of derailed the conversation because, let's be honest, when John and I have a professional conversation, it just does not work nearly as well as when Leslie is involved because, well, it's John.
Well, yeah, it's you pair any of the two of us as opposed to the three of us, you're going to get a very, very different dynamic.
It's a very different dynamic. Absolutely, it is an incredibly different dynamic. And I'm not saying John has nothing to contribute because he has plenty to contribute. Theft, but
no theft. No.
Theft wasn't really helpful for the conversation that we were having.
No, not so much. Okay.
John, do you want to say anything in your defense?
John, do you have a defense?
I don't think he does because he's trying to cook dinner as we're doing this. So his hands are occupied, probably messy, and he really can't reach the mute button on his phone. So we can really say what we want with impunity, and there's nothing he can do about it for the next few minutes.
You monsters!
Kitty, pussy.
In my defense,
good girl.
I don't have that much to contribute. If we have already ruled theft out of the conversation, then what is the point of me?
Shenanigans.
And
keeping the two of us from being way, way, way too technical and boring.
Yes. We need you to keep us grounded. Otherwise, we will. You need to keep us entertaining. Yeah. When it was just me and Les, we were way less entertaining, way more technical, and I hope some people find value in that, but we want to be entertaining too. So that's really what you bring to this conversation, John.
It's a puppy.
We're not thefting the puppy.
No.
I just want to be clear on that, John.
No, I'm saying maybe it would add to the entertainment value and you have to steal stuff.
I stole your heart.
That happened a while ago.
That did happen a while ago. Another puppy. We have both the puppies.
Yes.
Mucho puppy. Plural.
No, mucho puppies would be 3 puppies.
Muchos puppies.
Muchos perros.
Bueno.
Your Spanish is worse.
Dos cerveza, por favor.
Tortuga.
Thank
Tengo-
you for that.
Tengo una tortuga.
Sí.
Se llama
Tienes
Jackie.
Una tortuga.
Sí. La tortuga 24 años. ¿Sí
24.
así?
Así, así.
Así, así.
Está bien.
Bueno.
There you go. You get some Spanish.
See, I remember a little bit. I remember, like, legitimately, I remember enough Spanish to, like, haggle at the flea market, and that's about the extent of my
About it. Mine's
haggle at the flea
improving.
market and order beer.
Yeah, mine's improving, but in very, very specific ways because our landscape, our daily ops meetings for my job.
Oh, yeah, because you're working for a
bilingual.
landscape company, which I can only imagine employs a number of Hispanic.
They do,
folks.
and I love it because in addition to the guys just being awesome, all of our management does all of our meetings bilingually.
Oh, nice.
Oh, good.
So you're getting all kinds of exposure.
I get every day, at bare minimum once a day, I get to listen to meeting in English and in Spanish, which is awesome.
That's actually really awesome. That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
I like that.
Yeah.
But that is not what we are here to talk about. We are here to talk about Halloween things. And it's March 17th. We already mentioned St. Patrick's Day. And we have not actually succeeded yet in having a plan for 2025 type discussion. And so I'll be honest, I'm freaking out a little bit because at this point I have plenty of goals, plenty of ideas, and I need help like consolidate and the turtle. And I need help consolidating all of that into a solid plan that we can execute for 2025. So that's really what I want to try to accomplish today, to try to come up with a plan for 2025 that we can then take forward and begin to execute. Start the building, start the layout, all of the things that we need to do to make that happen. And I need to get working on that now because it's freaking March 17th. And oh my God, John, I'm running out of time.
Oh my God, John.
Because Leslie's talking to her husband and she's on mute. And I'm not convinced she's listening to us at this particular moment. So, oh my God, John.
How dare you? We had a big discussion last time. There were some valid ideas. Now, I don't remember any of them. But that's the problem. So that part makes it hard.
That's actually where I kind of want to start this discussion, where we left off on our previous discussion, because we're kind of at a crossroads where there are two different directions that we could potentially go for 2025, and we need to pick one. We are at this crossroad, and we need to turn left or right, and then commit to it. And we cannot continue standing at this crossroad, or I am going to freak out. I'm already freaking out.
How can we incorporate Jackie? I think the first question is, after our discussion, I think it's pretty clear. The first thing is, how do we incorporate Jackie into the haunt?
Well, I think we could probably have so I have this idea where we like take the haunt and wrap it around the house rather than like set up the same way we did last year, but rather than exiting through the yard in the front of the house, we take it around the back where the forest is and where we have the pond. And I want to put like a corpse fountain in the pond, but
Clarifying question.
we could have
Corpse
Jackie
fountain.
in the pond with the corpse fountain. Yes, Leslie.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like she
Fountain
could be a
of
more central
corpses?
piece.
Or fountain that is spewing out corpse pieces.
That's a
picturing-
fair question.
That's a reason. That is a completely fair question. I'm picturing like a corpse skeleton on a stake in the middle of the fountain with blood gushing up out of it. Blood fountain through a corpse.
Okay. Kind of like the idea of a fountain that's spewing out corpse bits, but
I do.
That's fair. I think it would be hard to get that across.
You said spewing up out of it?
Spewing
Yes.
up out of it, yes.
I should remind you of the temperament of your tortoise. She would not approve of that.
She probably would not approve of that.
She would not like being shot up into the air.
Plus, she is a tortoise, not a turtle. She probably wouldn't enjoy the
wet.
being that wet. She generally does not enjoy being that wet.
No.
When I give her a bath, she is not pleased.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I will keep that in mind. But yeah, so like we are at this crossroads and we really need to pick our direction and then charge forward, because frankly, we're running out of time, and we're always running out of time. But here we are.
I believe you were talking about like partnering with some places.
We were,
to
in
make
fact, talking about partner because I have built a relationship with a local arcade. It started when it actually started with a post on Hunter's Hangout where a company just posted, "Hey, is there anyone handy in the vicinity of Waldorf, Maryland that could help us out?" And I was intrigued because I am handy, and Waldorf, Maryland is like 30 minutes away from me, 45 minutes away from me. So I was like, yeah, I'm interested. Hit me up. Let's chat. And what had happened was this company built an animation for an indoor mini golf course. It was going to be their 18th hole. So the thing that collects the balls at the end and collects the balls. If you get it in the hole, then you win a free game. If you don't get it in the hole, it just keeps your ball and you don't get to play anymore, right? Because it's the 18th hole. And the design of this thing, well, it's a giant skull with a moving jaw that blocks the hole. And the way they designed it was, I'm going to say sketchy a little bit. It's a little bit sketchy, where they had a wire, a piece of aircraft cable that was connected between the motor and the jaw to make it move. And it had a tendency to get stuck, slip off the pulleys, and then it would fail. And the company's based in New Hampshire. It's down here in Maryland. So they didn't have the money to keep sending someone down to fix this thing and redesign it and all that. And so they were looking for someone local to assist. I'm like, I'm handy. I can totally assist. So I ended up fixing this thing a couple of times and ultimately upgrading it. My word, not theirs. I changed the design around a little bit to make it a little more reliable. It has worked successfully, I might add. But the owner was so happy with the work that I did for that, he hired me on as their handyman. And so anytime a arcade game would break, he would call me up. I would go try to fix it using the vast amounts of experience fixing arcade games that I have in my history.
So like 20 minutes?
Zero. It's a little bit more than that now, but thanks to this. But at the going into it, I had good troubleshooting skills. I had basic electronic skills, and I was able to put that to use on these arcade games. I was foiled once. There was one game I could not fix. It had shorted out 3 different circuit boards, and we were just chasing all kinds of stuff. That's the only time I failed.
That seems more like a much larger issue.
It was a much larger issue. I may have shorted out some of those boards while I was troubleshooting. We don't talk about that part. We don't talk about that part. But anyway, I built up a good relationship with the owner of this arcade through this process. And so when I came back to Maryland last year, that is where I have been prototyping my jelly ball business. So twice a month, we go out there, we set up Jelly Ball in the field outside of the arcade, and then we can use the arcade's point of sale system to basically sell tickets for Jelly Ball. I give him a cut of the profits. We keep the majority of the profits, and we run Jelly Ball games for 2 days a month. And it's worked out well. I disappointed with the amount of money I have made so far doing that. I have not quite broken even on, I think I've broken even once on one of those days based on number of ticket sales and how much I am paying, quote unquote, myself to stand there and run it all day. But I have learned a lot from it and have gotten some more goodwill that I've built up with this guy. So I had a thought that if we wanted to try to build a professional haunted house, this is an opportunity that we could potentially build a for-profit haunted house with relatively low risk. The arcade, the way it's set up, they have, a couple of these big garage doors in the arcade for getting machines in and out. And I think it would be very relatively simple to put a couple of ramps at this garage door, put a facade on the inside, and then we could actually have a haunted house behind the building underneath a tent that people will enter through the arcade, enter and exit through the arcade. We are, again, able to use their point of sale system. We are driving customers to them. They are driving customers to us. And we could have our first for-profit haunt this way.
I'm sensing a but.
I mean, this is my idea. I haven't broached the topic with them at all.
That's a big but.
It's a big but.
We could just show up. I'm sure
The butt is almost as big as my own.
There's that whole, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. You just show up with all of the gear. Just be like, all right, what do you want us to set up?
So I want to take a few minutes and just kind of talk about this.
God, I think that's a worse idea
Idea.
than theft.
That is a worse idea than theft. No doubt. Like, no doubt. There are...
recommending.
No, I am not recommending.
So wait a minute.
I am
What are we
just
stealing from the
saying.
arcade?
There is no doubt that there are some challenges with this idea, but it's March, which means we have the better part of 7 months to tackle those challenges. And like the kinds of things I'm thinking of, we don't have a tent. To get a tent or to rent a tent would cost thousands of dollars. And we've never run a for-profit hunt before. We have no actors. We have limited props. We have no design. We've never talked to the fire marshal. Like, there are some real challenges here, no doubt.
I mean, most of those could be solved with theft, which that's fine. I'm going to let it go.
Talking to the fire marshal, how do you solve that with theft?
How do you thieve a fire marshal?
It's
Okay,
called
I believe it's
kidnapping.
kidnapping.
It's a form of theft. It falls under the same umbrella.
Am I helping you?
Yeah, I was going to say, thanks, Les.
Les, what are your thoughts on this idea? John and I talked about it a fair amount.
See, we did have a discussion. I knew it.
We did have a discussion on this. None of that is making it into this episode. But I'd really like to open up to Leslie first and
I
kind
actually
of get...
sounded coherent for once.
I know, and goddamn, I missed that. So Les, take it away for a moment.
I like the idea. I'm having to ask myself if my hesitance in saying, yeah, let's do it, is out of an overabundance of caution because there are so many things that we have not worked out, or if my hesitance is well-founded and giving ourselves 19 months and planning it for next year with the idea that we're going to do all of the prep work this year, beta test the haunt process, and then basically it's the everything but.
I had this similar thought about the time thing, in all honesty. If that is truly enough time.
I mean, it is. I know we can do it.
We put haunts together in 6 weeks.
In vastly different circumstances.
True. Remember,
And
the
scope.
only ones we have to answer to are us, and that's it.
Accurate.
Answering to, your partners, you've built up goodwill. How far is that going to take you if something does not go well? Is this a bridge with a high risk of burning? And is that something that you want to do? Or do you want to, again, slow walk this and do a 19-month plan, 18-month plan instead of a 7-month plan?
I most definitely do not want to burn this bridge. I really value the relationship that we've built up, and long term, I see potential for I see this relationship as having a lot of potential to helping us make the leap to pro down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Because this arcade offers
a lot of the things you need.
But no. McDonald's has a whole bunch of businesses that are owned franchise. This arcade offers franchise opportunities. So we could potentially franchise under this banner, and that gives us a way to have year-round revenue and give us a venue to build a haunt.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you a question then. What is the downside? Like you said, you value that relationship. What is the downside of waiting 1 year?
I don't think there's any downside. I think there is zero downside whatsoever.
That's sort of
what's the upside of not waiting a year?
Exactly. I mean, there's just the pure fun aspect of it, but if this is a business, we could probably put that.
Sure. I mean, timing is always a concern because
Planning a
I'm in the
house takes a
military
long
and God
time.
knows what's going to happen. We have Halloween on a Friday this year,
Cool.
but we'll have Halloween on a Friday next or a Saturday next. So, like, I don't know that there are any pluses that are really driving us to try to make this happen this year.
And I think that would be the thing is we would need it to be some incredible. Okay, it's this like there's a blue moon or something.
We can't
or,
miss this opportunity.
right.
And I
something
think
that's-
this is a let's. I think also again, you guys when you were there round 1 in Maryland, we really had built up, quite a lot.
We had,
following.
and we kept a lot of it.
We kept a lot of it. So, what would you say to taking again a year, rebuild that, being like, "Hey, we're back. Here's our test,"
A dinosaur story.
and we test things with the intent of this is going to be pro next year.
Are you, like, a
So
soft open?
instead of kind of now whether we do that soft open at your house or at the arcade, that's something that we can kind of discuss. I don't see the arcade being an option unless there's revenue involved.
Concur. I think if we're doing a soft open, we're doing a soft open here.
More
Yeah.
than likely.
And I think that's again our approach is going to be different because of the scale and the intricacies that we know are going to be involved when we're planning this as a trial run for revenue generation in 18 months.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if we do this, if we plan this year with that in mind, it's going to make planning for next year and implementing a revenue generating haunt. I'm not going to say easier,
But
Less stressful.
but it takes a lot of the plan work out of next year. Like
Mhm.
if we
Right.
have our layout done, we have drawings, we have all of the equipment, we have the props, we know what actors we need, we know what
'Cause
the
I
costs
can
are
build
going
a
to be.
budget off of that.
Yeah, exactly. Then
Right now, I don't
that's
have enough
steps
to
ahead of where we are.
build a
And I
budget.
think one of the big things would be to see it. First off, we would need to put together like a pitch just to make sure they're interested. If they have no interest in it, then there's no point in.
I mean, if they have no
going
interest in it,
completely-
if we have something ready, we can take it anywhere.
Well,
There's
fair
that
point,
too.
Fair point. Fair point.
But no, but that's all that's exactly it. If they're not interested, we already have the pitch. We can take it anywhere.
And you know
So
what?
we've-
There are other potential venues in this area. There's a water park that closes down in the fall. There's an outdoor mini golf and batting cages and rock climbing wall, like that kind of activity center here in Prince Frederick. There are other venues that we could potentially pitch this to that might be
Remember,
interesting.
you have to be careful. You tend to get injured near aquatic-based haunts.
Accurate. But they drain it. They drain the haunts. They drain the
they drain the haunt.
They drain the
Get
haunt.
some water.
I
All right,
don't
everybody.
know.
Sorry.
Believe it or not, that does not reassure me that.
I wasn't trying to be reassuring.
Nope. There is
It'd be
no
like
reassurance.
3%.
I really think we plan for a income-based haunt
Mhm.
for 26, and everything we do this year is done with that in mind.
I think you've sold me.
I think, 7 months is not enough time to plan a heist.
Bullshit.
Not a good one. Well, you want to go to jail?
We're gonna need a wheelman.
Pretty sure that both Oceans 11 and 13 were planned in less than
Weeks. Months.
Are you saying any of us are Daniel Ocean?
None of us are Daniel Ocean.
I would
that
never.
is accurate. We are not Daniel Ocean. Can we sidebar for a moment?
You guys don't want me to be Daniel Ocean.
It's only this.
We're gonna need a few more people. Accurate. But
Two.
I showed my kids their first heist movie the other day. Last family movie night.
What movie, man? What movie?
The Italian Job.
Italian Job. Weren't
Okay.
you paying attention?
I missed it. I'm cooking while I'm doing this.
Fair. They freaking adored it. Particularly my
Excellent.
younger Walker loves Lyle's character, the Napster, Seth Green, played by Seth Green. Like,
Green.
he was cracking up. It was wonderful.
So wait, have they not seen Ocean's 11 yet?
They have not seen Oceans yet.
Woo!
Like that is the next heist movie I think I want to show them.
Yep. 11,
Oh.
13. Don't bother with 12.
There are a couple of redeeming elements.
I feel like we have
The
to go in
only
order.
redeeming element of 12 is Julia Roberts playing her character, pretending to be Julia Roberts. That
is
really
hysterical.
The only
Amazing.
That is hysterical. I love the scene where the Frenchman's going through the laser grid.
That was so cool.
That's a super cool.
The music
that's a
itself.
super cool scene.
So anyway,
yeah.
For those of our listeners, we're obsessed with those three movies.
So
one person says one thing in our group chat with one quote from Oceans, and it goes for at least a day or two.
It spirals out of control from there,
does.
no doubt. You think we need one more?
Do you think
okay,
you need one more?
We'll get one more.
We'll get one more. So maybe can we agree to that we will, like you said, we would need some help, but we will only enlist 8 more people.
I don't know. It depends on what the layout ends up looking like. Okay, so
why are you a thief of joy?
I want you to know that I do thief something.
Ah! Damn it.
I wish I could thief one of these pens.
Random.
Yeah.
You're shopping, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah, you are.
I'm window shopping.
You're hilarious. So I think that we're kind of settled. I think that we're kind of settled on where we want to go for this year. We will build a home haunt with the going through all of the steps as if we were going to try to make this go, as if we were going to go pro this year. We want to have everything laid out so that we can take that package and pitch it to potential venues next year. Ooh, there's a VFW here too, like VFW fundraiser. There are possibilities, is my point. So I think that's where we're at.
Okay. I think that's the way to go. It also takes some. I mean, I think about what it would take for us to put together a paid haunt in 7 months and the time that it would take for the three of us to do that. And specifically the time that it would take for you, because you're going to be doing a lot more of the legwork than we are for obvious reasons.
Now that we have chosen which direction we're going to go for this year, I think it is a great time to take a break, hear from our sponsors, and then we will jump in with a discussion on what are we going to actually do this year.
Okay, and we're back. Thank you to all of our sponsors. You are amazing, and this would not be as fun as it is without you.
And if you have a message that you would like to get out to the haunt community, definitely check out hauntingyou.com, our website, and click on the Become a Sponsor link, where it will give you all of the information on the ways that we can help you get your message out to the haunt community. And I promise you, you will not find cheaper advertising than here on the Haunting You podcast. So, dedicated Halloween enthusiasts, exactly the kind of people you want to get your products in front of, and it's relatively cheap. Really, really relatively cheap. So check it out and reach out to us at hauntinguniversity@gmail.com if you would like to become a sponsor. But in the meantime, we have some planning to do. So now that we have the direction that we're going to go for 2025, it's time to talk about the haunt that we are going to build for 2025. Now, we very consistently talk about the Haunting You method. This is the steps that we take every single year when we are designing our haunts to make sure that we are capturing all of the aspects that we need to put on a successful haunt. And it is broken down into 3 phases. You can see all of this on our website as well, hauntingyou.com. But it's broken down into 3 phases: the planning phase, the production phase, and the presentation phase. In the planning phase, we are doing all the on-paper planning. In the production phase, we are building things, physically building. In the presentation phase, we are executing the haunt, executing the plan that we have put together over the course of the year. So we're all the way back in the planning phase once again here early in 2025. And so we have lots of things to discuss. Let's give a quick overview of the planning phase and the steps that we need to talk about here.
So, as we've defined it, our planning phase starts with defining your goals. What do you want to accomplish with your haunt? Where, like, really, what's the point and purpose? Are you just there to scare the shit out of your neighbors, scare
Good
the shit
goal.
out of your neighbors' kids? Or are you wanting to build a business with it? Which, again, as we've talked about, that's kind of the approach that we're going to be taking. The next step is to identify your audience. So, since we are looking at this in kind of a two-stage plan, one stage is setting everything up and doing kind of a soft run this year with the intent to do a paid haunt next year. Our audience is going to be a little bit different than kind of what we've done, which is neighborhood and whoever we can bull in off the street with the giant weenies that we're doing. Please listen to episode 10. We need to identify we need to identify our theme. So that is, again, that's what's going to ground our ideas and keep us in one coherent thought process and plan as we go forward. Once we have that, we need to create a backstory. So, what is our haunt? We've got a theme. What's the story surrounding it? So, again, we're looking at this not to just have a bunch of random rooms thrown together with clowns and zombies and, chainsaw killers. What is our backstory? What is the overarching thread that's from the theme? And then how do we tie that all together into a coherent storyline? Next is creating a budget. This is going to be crucial because, again, we are looking at this of how do we turn this into a paid haunt. Budget is going to be key. We want to make sure that we're bringing in more money than we're spending, so we need to know how much money we're going to need to spend. Marketing. This is another one that's going to be crucial because as we pitch to partners for 2026, we need to have a marketing plan as to how are we going to help bring in clients and customers to the haunt at this location, whichever one we decide to go with. And then last but not least is the layout. We need to design a layout. What is the walkthrough? What is the space that we're going to be occupying? How do we take the backstory that we've written and adapt it to any potential space? So again, if we're potentially pitching this to maybe 3 different locations to see which one is, going to fit our needs, we need to be able to adapt our layout and design. So we need to have a very, very strong plan as to not just how do we design it, but how do we write it? How is it going to work? How does the flow of the haunt function?
That was a perfect overview of the planning phase. Let's kind of take it one at a time real quick. We're definitely not going to get into all of these here on this episode, but I want to hit the areas that we kind of already know. Goals. We are, in this case, we have a couple of goals, I think. One, to kind of work out the kinks in the plan that we have to ease our transition to trying to go pro for 2026. And of course, as always, we want to collect as much food as possible for the Southern Maryland Food Bank, which is a local charity that we have been supporting as long as I have been in Maryland. So, goals. Check.
Oh, man, that is a nice pen.
Right?
Is it 15?
Wait, what?
A pen?
Yeah.
Dollar?
No, is it pen 15?
No, it is not pen 15.
I certainly hope not. I mean, that's expensive, but if it was, it'd be a heck of a lot more expensive, I would think.
I had a boss who was absolutely obsessed with like fancy pens, and he once showed me a pen that he spent $400 on.
Did you?
Yeah, that's I
can't.
I love my fountain
it.
pens. I love my fountain pens. I have not spent more than $30 on a fountain pen ever. I tend to
$30 is still an expensive pen. Like,
it's still a pretty nice pen. Yeah.
It is. It's nothing compared to that one.
Yeah.
No.
I was holding it like 2 hands.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I don't feel comfortable holding this. Like, take it back.
I don't want anything I write with that needs its own insurance policy. I'm out.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway,
okay.
So
anywho.
Sorry.
We talked about goals. We have our goals for the season. Audience. who is our audience in this case? Traditionally we have targeted trick-or-treaters because we are a home haunt. We are expecting trick-or-treaters, and we want it to be a fun and memorable event to help build the next generation of haunters. That has not worked out so well for us here in Maryland because I live out in the boonies, and the neighborhood I'm in has, I don't know, 6, 7 houses, and it is 3 families, 4 families have kids. Like, it is not a big trick-or-treater neighborhood. And so what we have generally found is on Halloween, we are not getting the traffic here because they're going to the big neighborhoods with lots of houses because that's how you get lots of candy. I can't even dispute. I would be doing the same thing. I do the same thing with my own children. Like,
Yep.
I get it. But that means that like our traditional audience is not the people that we are seeing. And so I think this is the time that we actually open up our target audience and really start targeting the young adults, because those are the people who we saw come in 2021 when we had our most successful year.
Yeah.
We saw the 20 somethings, we saw the 30 somethings, we saw people coming all the way from Prince George's County because they heard about our haunt on Facebook and thought it was interesting. Like, adults driving an hour and a half to come see our haunt. It still warms my heart that they did that.
I know, right?
Yeah, and I think you're right, especially because, we are looking to push the bounds, turn this into a pro haunt that automatically ups our age group.
Yeah.
And with the backstory and the haunt themes that we have tested, it's very, very easy to up the level and the scare factor with what we've written.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, seriously. So I think our target audience, the early 20 somethings, the 21-year-old frat boy, the 21-year-old white frat boy, the person who has the least to fear in the world, that is our target audience. That is the person that we are trying to scare with this haunt.
Make them terrified.
Theme and backstory. We have been building our theme and backstory really since 2020. And Les, can you give a quick overview of the theme and backstory that we have been building for the last several years?
So the backstory of Sanguine Creek Estates, and really where we focused it for the past couple of years, has been on our slightly mad scientist who moves back into kind of the old family manor. And in an effort to continue his research, he ultimately becomes possessed by the spirit of the Wendigo, which has been haunting the land surrounding the manor for centuries, and takes all of his "I'm just trying to do medical research" and turns it into much worse things.
Exactly. And I had a thought because I caught something that you said. You said Sanguine Creek Estates. I've been making the same mistake. I think we need to change it to estate, singular, because estates makes it sound like a 1950s neighborhood full of in the suburbia with lots of houses. We have a single estate.
We could do that as
No,
time
not this time.
skip.
Not this time. Not
We
this year.
could do that for our time skips. Yes. No, I agree.
And I even, like, as you were talking, I went back and looked through my pictures to make sure,
Mhm.
like, the sign that I made last year does say estate, singular. So
Okay.
I want to be more deliberate about calling it an estate and not estates.
Yep.
So, yeah, so that's our theme and backstory. And that's kind of where I want to focus here for the rest of the episode. What do we want to do with that theme and backstory in the haunt? Previously, we had a asylum type theme that transitioned to a zombie type theme, as the creature that the doctor had created, turned out to be a Wendigo, was starting to corrupt people and turning them into zombie-esque creatures. And absolutely love that storyline. And I think I absolutely think we could continue with it. But let's talk like the spaces that we're going to build this year inside the estate.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to pull up a spreadsheet now, or not a spreadsheet, but a Word document so that we can talk about the types of spaces that we want to see inside of the estate this year. So I think starting with the asylum still makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what we had in 21 was the doctor was outside welcoming people into the estate.
Yes.
I think we need more of a welcome space,
Mm-hmm.
though.
We need a foyer.
We need a foyer, aka foyer. Leslie's twitching. I enjoy making what Leslie twitch. So I still think we put the doctor outside and he welcomes the guests into the foyer. But I think we need like a nurse or an orderly inside the foyer to give the intro talk.
Essentially the spiel.
The spiel. So we're gonna have less nurse, orderly. What's more appropriate? Nurse, probably.
In an asylum? And we're doing
Orderly.
this late 1890s.
Oh, well, let's talk about that. Like previously, we had been talking about late 1890s. Do we want to stick with that time period? I'm kind of inclined to. I like it.
I do too.
Okay, we'll stick with
My
it.
other option is 1930s and fuck fascism. Let's do the 1890s.
So 1890s asylum.
In that case, it would be both.
Maybe we'd have both. So we'll stick with nurse.
I would start with a nurse and then
Yeah.
have that kind of a nurse receptionist of a hi, welcome, nice and happy, and then transfer off to big burly orderly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so nurse receptionist, give backstory, and welcome into the haunt. Okay, next space. From the foyer, they are going on a tour of the asylum. The idea being that the guests who are coming have a family member that they are thinking of sending to the hospital, and so they are here to check out the what's the word
Facilities.
I want? Facilities. Exactly. They're checking out the facilities to make sure that it is appropriate for the family member that they want to send. So they started on the foyer with the nurse receptionist who is giving the backstory, welcome them into the haunt, and then they proceed down the hall. And where do we go from here?
Couple of options. One of which is we go to kind of an intake room.
What do you imagine with an intake room?
This is where I would see you sit down with an orderly and they would go through, we just want to ask you some questions about the family member you're looking at committing so we can properly show you the best case scenario of our patients as to what would happen if you committed a family member.
I'm a little bit concerned about asking guests questions because that can go off the rails very quickly.
Yes. So with that, the next step would be allow us to show you some of our patients and our quote unquote success stories.
Yeah. So I liked the electroshock therapy room.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we have that yet, but let's just get like all the types of patients out. So patient success stories. We have electroshock
and treatment examples.
Yeah.
So the porcelain doll is receiving ETC. The
treatment examples. Electroshock therapy. We have the porcelain doll. Who else?
Who else did we have?
We had my Reagan dummy, which was just character in a bed. Same with we had an orderly pushing the wheelchair with the heart bursting out.
Mm-hmm. So I think this is where we need to refine not necessarily our backstory. Well, we need to refine our backstory a little bit.
What you thinking?
That I need to do research.
That's what we can do research.
Yeah. So research is definitely needed. Porcelain doll.
And for all of our listeners who do not remember, our porcelain doll is a patient who believes that she herself is a porcelain doll. And so the room that we had set up was like a bedroom with as many porcelain dolls as I could find at estate sales, which was a considerable amount.
Good.
And then she, in the middle of them all, dressed up as a porcelain doll herself. She was an excellent character, played by our friend Christina. She was wonderful. Wow, chef's kiss. And of course, we had the electroshock therapy, which is really basically an electric chair. I had taken a old broken spirit animatronic, turned it into a pneumatic that, when activated with a peekaboo, made him, thrash about wildly. It lasted a day because the construction of said animatronic was, I'm going to say, a little bit sketchy. So I need to do some work on that this year, build him a more, I'm going to say, sturdy frame that can take the abuse a little more than the previous one did.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think it was a very effective space. Leslie's doing research.
Uh-huh. Ooh, yay. Pictures.
Pictures are
Sounds
good.
Uh-huh. Okay. So in an effort to, not bore you all by listening to me make funny noises while I read research on the internet, which I know Kay's infinitely amused because he gets to watch my face as I read all this shit.
Not to mention I get to listen to it a second time when I go and edit it all out again.
In an effort to not torment you all with that, which should be enough to put anybody in an insane asylum, more research is needed. So, big sticky note. Leslie needs to do research. Woo!
Leslie. I'm adding notes. Leslie will.
How many of these rooms and characters do we want, knowing that, again, budget constraints, space constraints, time constraints?
Short answer, I don't know yet. There's going to have to be a separate discussion on layout once we kind of figure out what our target size is.
Okay.
I think I want to do some research, and I really want to find a tent, right? Because if we're going to do this pro, we're going to have some kind of structure that can protect the haunt while we are not operating.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's one thing if I'm at home and I can bring all the sensitive stuff inside the garage at the end of the night, no big deal. But if we are actually in some sort of venue, that's much more difficult to accomplish. So we need more protection. So I'm going to have to figure out some tent ideas, figure out what that's going to cost, figure out what kind of sizes we can work with, and then we can base the layout around that.
What'd be fun is we could, when we say stuff like that, you could literally say, okay, get that to the insurance teams or get that to the layout team without people realizing it's just the three of us.
Leslie
get that
and
over to
John,
the accounting department.
Here's the thing. Leslie and John are the story team. I am the layout team. Leslie's the finance team. John is the marketing team.
I hold tools.
You do hold tools. That is accurate. Hold,
With
not
help
use.
and supervision.
Hold.
I'm allowed to use tools. You are not.
Sorry, I was trying to do a 4-year-old, which is tricky.
So we're going to have a variety of patient success stories, treatment examples. At some point, I think we want to keep the morgue and the crematorium.
Yep.
We had this idea for lack of a better word, the basement, where there were cages, electrified cages, where the doctor was keeping his more violent patients.
Yeah.
I would love to build that. I want to bring that in.
I think we should. One of I don't remember if I sent this one to you. Was it the Science Museum? Yeah. So if you scroll down on the link I sent you, there are some fantastic images of differing restraints that were used.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like this straitjacket. And then various restraint harnesses, chained to the bed, chained to chairs, strapped into a chair. What is this thing? Oh, some kind of restraint collar.
Yep.
So what I would recommend for you, well, wait, sorry, I forget. What year is this supposed to be?
We're in the 1890s.
1890s.
Never mind, ignore everything that I was going to say.
What were you thinking? Because maybe we can adjust it to the appropriate time.
Just you said something about the more violent inmates being on a lower level or a more secure level.
Uh-huh.
One of the like first starts of when you walk through Arkham Asylum, the game is like a 10-minute walk through the asylum
Mhm.
with guards while Joker is restrained. And you go through most of the asylum, like the secure wing, the less secure wing, all this stuff.
Yeah,
It looks pretty cool. I was just saying that for research, I might get some decent ideas.
sure,
But
sure.
it's all, most of the things they show are.
Yeah. That's okay. Like we can like I think Arkham Asylum is a fantastic source of material, source of inspiration.
No.
We should absolutely be looking at all variety of source material in order to draw out elements that I think are useful. And granted, Arkham Asylum much more modern day. Not everything will be perfectly relatively modern day. Not everything will be a perfect fit for what we're doing, but that doesn't mean we can't like take those ideas and make them old timey to fit to fit the time frame.
I mean, again, it is all fictional, so as much as there are going to be parts of me that are going to cringe, I'm there's still some things again, to build up a haunt, even if it is anachronistic. If it brings value to what we're trying to do and to the goals that we have, then it's absolutely worth doing.
Yep.
We put one inaccuracy in each thing, just for giggles.
It's kind of like the candlelighters hiding a cat in every scene.
I was gonna say that makes me think
Exactly.
of in Sight. There is a pineapple in every
Pineapple every episode.
Yep. Because we can hide something in plain view.
After the basement, the jail cells. Previously, we had like an underground tunnel that I absolutely loved how it came out, and I would like to do again. And then when they emerged from the tunnel, we had them emerge into a cemetery. I don't know that is going to be possible if we are doing this in a venue.
Yeah.
So
There's probably going to be
maybe
some additional restrictions.
like maybe the underground tunnel is our escape, and that's the actual exit coming up out of the root cellar. They go in the front door, they come out the root cellar,
and having the one to go chase them out of the root cellar.
Exactly. Something like that.
Yeah, I like that. Again, it kind of, because again, we're looking physical containment, which we're going to have at pretty much any venue that we're going to do. And that gives us a little bit more control. And it does keep the idea that the doctor has, in his mind, harnessed the power of the Wendigo only to have an escape.
Lies. Okay. Other scenes that you guys have thoughts on? Because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 7 right now, plus a couple more patients that Leslie will bring up. I'd like to have a little more flexibility to work scenes into a layout.
We have to be careful of not doing too much, especially just to make sure we can handle it all.
Certainly. It's more about kind of seeing what fits in the space that we have available.
Yeah. And that's something, again, as you're making these pitches and planning ahead, it's beneficial to, I'm not going to say over plan, but to have additional elements so that way as you're doing a pitch, if something doesn't land, you can say, we do have other options that we can put in here, pending whatever the concerns are.
That's something that we didn't really bring into Sanguine in 21, emphasizing like the fact that this place is fucking haunted.
Yes.
And I would love to bring more of that into.
Right.
I think it'd be a really good idea to add in ghosts.
I think we should add in ghosts. Like, I don't want to say old patients, previous patients, deceased patients, patients who have the bone to pick with the doctor and his descendants. Ghosts.
Yeah, I think we need ghosts. And, to some degree, we have we have ghosts. I mean, we already have what, 4?
Who did we have? We have our the 4 that we have haunting the morgue,
haunting the grounds.
Or sorry, so haunting the grounds. But then we also had like the signal woman spirit who was guiding people out of the graveyard, and
Yeah, there's
the Hatbox Ghost. Yeah,
Hatbox. Yeah.
LOFX's version of the Hatbox Ghost.
Yeah, so definitely want to have ghosts.
So actually, we could have like previous owners of the estate potentially as ghosts, previous patients, previous inhabitants. There we go, of the grounds. All ideas. That's where we're brainstorming here.
Yep.
Yeah, and we can work some of those into the haunt. On top of that, I want to incorporate more of that into the grounds as well, like just on top of.
Yeah, again, we want this to feel as haunted as we can.
As haunted as possible. Exactly.
Heavy on the haunt. I like it.
Heavy on the haunt. Especially now that I have all my stuff.
Hey.
That really helps when you're haunting things.
It definitely helps.
Yeah, right?
Okay. So I think we've got some ideas. Les is going to do some more research on ideas for patients. Les, I was listening to our episode on the West Virginia Penitentiary. Do you remember the inmate who stabbed himself in the eyes?
Yes.
With the pencils?
Yep.
I want that as a character.
Okay.
Inmate who stabbed self in eyes with pencils. Perfect. So we need a costume design for that as well, Les.
It's given the era, it's not going to be pencils. It's going to be fountain pens.
Even better.
So then we can do ink drips down the face.
I like it. I'm thinking potentially bloody bandage over the eyes with the pen sticking out.
Okay.
Just because then we can like attach the pens to the bandage and then just wrap that around the head to put it on.
Yeah. Big thing with that is going to be figuring out how to
make sure they can see.
Yeah, and that they don't run into something and
actually, yeah, exactly. So I leave that to you to figure out. Okay. So yeah, let's come up with a couple other potential patients and then we'll go from there. Okay. So that gives us our kind of the basis for our theme, our backstory, the types of characters that we're going to be looking at, the types of costuming we're going to need, and that will all go into the layout that we need to, or that I need to start sketching out. Designing, exactly. So I think we're kind of at a stopping point for as far as we can get tonight. The rest of the planning phase, marketing, we will use a lot of the elements that we are designing for this in our marketing, but a lot of the like actual marketing will happen once we get closer to the haunt itself. And of course, creating a budget, we'll probably do a whole episode where we talk about building a business plan and kind of looking at the types of expenses that we would expect to incur as part of this build, and that will help us set pricing and all of those things. All of that will go into the business plan that we'll dedicate a whole episode just to that.
Sorry, guys, it's going to be a bit boring, but if this is your goal, there's going to be a lot of value to it.
Exactly.
And we'll have John to make it as entertaining as possible.
But if you don't like it, you can certainly go to hauntingyou.com and check out any of the myriad other episodes that we have on building haunted houses. And, we bring a ton of professionals from the haunt industry on to talk about what they do and how they do it. All of those episodes are available to you wherever you get your podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Google Podcasts, Pandora, Amazon Music, like literally anywhere that you get your podcast, you can find the Haunting You podcast. Go back and listen to any one of these episodes and hopefully take something away that you can use in your own haunt. So I think we're kind of at a stopping point tonight.
I have a would you rather.
Do you really?
I do.
I would love to hear your would you rather.
Well, you volunteered, so you
better come up with one.
Just wanted to see your face. Okay. Oh, excuse me.
Shenanigans.
Is that the segment title?
Something like that.
Fair enough. If you want to sponsor our shenanigans segment,
Yeah, exactly.
man, wouldn't that be something? People just pay us to say stupid things.
I cannot wait for that day to come true.
Someday.
Someday.
Just even dumber things than usual. Awesome.
Exactly. Speaking of dumber things than usual, John, can you see what's behind me?
I'm not lying. I assume that was a shot at me.
No, like, can you? I don't know if you can see
I can't.
this right here.
Or I can't. I can see some sort of object. I cannot make it out what it is.
It is a 3D printed shark with muscles going like this. Do you remember that?
Indeed.
I found it.
I have. You sent me what? You sent one of them to me.
I did send one. We printed a couple. Clearly, I have one left over because he's up there now.
Or you have an excellent fantasy football trophy. Should you need it?
Anyway, yeah. So go ahead, John.
I did see one on Etsy that I wanted to buy for our league. That was just a wood version of Thor's hammer that you just put plaques on for each tennis.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
really cool. It was also like $600.
I bet I could build it for less.
Probably. Well, no, so I'll give you the would you rather. I actually had this for the episode that I missed, unfortunately. So I'll read it over. I'll read it to you guys, and then I'll go with mine just to give you guys a minute to come up with yours.
Go ahead.
So I saw this the other day, and it was: would you rather be the main character in the last show that you watched most recently, or the last book that you read most recently? So,
Book.
What Leslie? That was fast. What was yours?
Book.
I know, but what book?
The Poison Study. Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. Either that or The Hobbit. Either way, I'd be happy.
Good either way.
Yeah. I mean, TV show wouldn't be bad either because it's NCIS, but, you know.
Okay, fair enough. See, the one at that moment now, I'll go back to the one I was, when I came up with this, I had been watching Downton Abbey. So pretty solid. The main characters, I assume it's Robert. Pretty solid. I mean, it's it's early 1900s, but you're very wealthy. So that's not so bad. But the book I was reading was about Jessica Jones.
Ooh.
Not as much as I love
right.
Jessica Jones, I'm not sure I want to be her.
Yeah.
There's some stuff. So I think I picked wealthy guy. Even if it's the 1900s, I'm still picking wealthy British aristocrat.
Reasonable.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm having to think back a little bit. I think the last show I watched was Skeleton Crew.
Okay. Solid.
And I'm in the process of reading through the Hunger Games books.
Wow, you are late. But that pretty much answers the question.
Yeah. I'm doing a reread because a new book is coming out like this week.
Yep.
A new story about
they're doing Haymitch.
Haymitch, exactly. All about Haymitch's games. And I'm so excited for it. But I wanted to reread all of them before I go to that. So I'm actually on The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes right now, which is President Snow's backstory. And so, like, that would be the main character of the book. I really don't want to be President Snow, even though he, young eventually will be President Snow. So I think I'm going to go with Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of ones you would want to be in Hunger Games. Most things are going to beat that.
There's nothing good there.
Not all, but most.
Yeah, just nothing good there.
Would you rather be in Hunger Games in any capacity?
Fair.
Or would you rather be a member of the Colorado Rockies?
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games.
Sorry, Rocks.
Maybe someday.
You bring it upon yourselves.
Maybe someday.
Maybe. I have doubts.
For like a month, and then it's back to, our regularly scheduled programming.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll do Poison Study because Yelena is awesome and really, really great story. And she has awesome magics that, makes up for the horrible torture in her backstory. Or The Hobbit. I'm happy to be Bilbo.
See, by that, but now you're making me think because, Jessica Jones has terrible things happen to her, but she does have some pretty cool superpowers. No, I'm going to pick wealthy British aristocrat.
Legit.
Yeah.
Very legit.
Yeah, fair enough.
John, you want to will you give us a quick rundown of our social media? And then I think we have one more segment to knock out real quick.
Chambers Corner.
Dun. So, John, would you give us a quick rundown of our social media?
Sure.
It is indeed. on the internet.
So Instagram at Haunting University, on YouTube at Haunting You, and then what did you say? Facebook.com/Haunting You? I don't remember.
That's it.
Holy
Nailed
crap,
it.
I did it.
You nailed it. Well done.
Good job, John.
Only took 2 tries.
You know what? That's better than the number of tries that Leslie normally has to do. So you're doing all right.
Excellent.
Well, that leaves us with just one last thing to knock out today, and that is, of course,
The Chambers Corner.
The Haunting You podcast is the official podcast of the Chamber of Haunters, and so every month we like to give the Chamber an opportunity to tell us what they have going on in their world. So, from Mr. Robert Knowlton, President of the Chamber of Haunters, what do you have for us for April? The Chamber of Haunters is preparing for some awesome changes and updates that will be a great benefit to members. In 2025, the Chamber of Haunters is celebrating 5 years in operation as the haunted attraction industry's Chamber of Commerce. Know that we are here to help you when you need us most. We have you covered for your insurance needs, legal help in all 50 states, discounts with premier vendors, support and guidance, etc., in order to assist you in taking your haunt to the next level. We are excited to make some key announcements over the coming months, so be sure to watch the Chamber of Haunters Facebook page, as well as our magazine, as we tell you all the exciting plans we have for 2025 for our members, and for the haunted attraction industry as a whole. We will be attending the East Coast Haunters Convention in April. This is Keoni. I also intend to be at the East Coast Haunters Convention in April. But the Chamber will be attending the East Coast Haunters Convention in April, as well as the Texas Haunters Convention in July. We hope to see many of you at one of these amazing events. Stay tuned for more news from the Chamber of Haunters.
I cannot believe you did that off from memory. Well done.
Thank you. Quick side note for all of our listeners who don't normally get to see into the background of the making of the Haunting You podcast, but normally I am not on top of my and so we will record our introduction to the Chambers Corner, record the coming back from the Chambers Corner, and then I have to reach out to Rob separately, ask him for the Chambers Corner, record it, and then insert it when I'm doing my post editing. Tonight I did not have my together, and I had to reach out to Rob. But Rob had it together, and he sent it to me while we were recording in time so that I had it ready to go when we got to this moment.
Well done.
It was amazing. I could not believe it. Thank you, Rob, for having your together more than I did.
My favorite part about that whole thing is when you did the original read of the fish. I know, obviously, you can't see it. I don't have my camera on, but the closet in the room I'm in is open, and that massive trout that we used to have that would hang outside of the roof of your car is still in that closet looking up.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Can I see your trout?
Hold them all.
Sweet.
It's late.
So thank you, Rob, for the Chambers Corner. I am so excited to see you at the end of the month at East Coast. Hopefully everything works out and we both end up making it there. All right. We have done our social media. We've done the Chambers Corner. I do want to do one quick shout out for a couple of events coming up. The big one for us, HauntFest April Ghouls, is scheduled for April 4th through 6th in Athens, Georgia. So just a couple of days from now, if you're in the area, definitely go and check them out. And then, of course, East Coast Haunters Convention, we just talked about in Oaks, Pennsylvania, April 26th and 27th. They do have a pre-show haunt tour happening on Friday. If you want to check that out, you certainly can. And then a bunch of other shows happening later in the summer. Midwest Haunters Convention, June 6th to the 8th in Rosemont, Illinois. Texas Haunters Convention, July 26th, 27th in Irving, Texas. Haunters Against Hate, the event, number 3, Season of the Witch, August 8th through 10th in Lexington, Kentucky. Haunting You podcast will be there. Come see us at the booth. And Midsummer Scream, August 15th through the 17th at the Long Beach Convention Center. If you are in the area for any one of these conventions, highly recommend you check them out and look for us. Come check us out when you're there. All right. Do we miss anything, guys?
Don't think so.
All right. Then let's call it a night. Les,
Beautiful.
take us out.
All right. From all of us here at Haunting You, thanks for listening and happy haunting.
Bye, everybody. Haunting You is a production of the Rocky Mountain Home Haunters, LLC. All audio clips and sound effects are used under a Creative Commons Attribution or Public Domain license from Purple Planet Music at www.purple-planet.com or the Sound Bible at soundbible.com. Please see our Facebook page for more information on all the clips used in this episode. Haunting University can be reached via Facebook at www.facebook.com/hauntingu with the letter U, or on Twitter using the handle at HauntingUniver1. That's Haunting UNIVER1. Be sure to check out our new page on Podbean at www.hauntingu.podbean.com. I have a scissor. I have a scissor. I have a scissor. Snip, 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 snip.
Well, that pause is insanely.